Today we're at the Imperial War Museum in Duxford, one of my favourite places in England, and we're here to see something that's rather strange. We're here to see a tank that's not actually what it's supposed to be. Inside one of the hangars at the far end of the runway is the land warfare section, and inside there is an incredible artefact that was used in film, used actually in the film Saving Private Ryan. It's a Tiger tank, but it's not actually a Tiger tank, it's actually a T-34, one of the greatest enemies of a Tiger. So, join us today as we look at the fake Tiger tank. Remember to support our channel, please make sure to subscribe. So if we're walking down the runway, this here is the American Air Museum, and then further down at the end, right at the end there, is the land warfare section, where the fake Tiger tank actually is. So behind me is the fake Tiger tank. It's a T-34 actually, but it was made up for the film Saving Private Ryan to look like a Tiger tank. And there are a few giveaways. First of all, the tracks are exactly like a T-34. There's a T-34 over there, which looks exactly the same in terms of its tracks. And there are a few other giveaways as well. It's a very interesting exhibit here because it makes people think that it's a Tiger tank, but it actually isn't. It's very interesting to consider the role this had in a movie, but the Tiger tank itself was known for being one of the best tanks of the Second World War. The Tiger tank was one of the most iconic military vehicles of the Second World War. It's considered a tank which was outstanding in its design during the time of the war, and many Allied soldiers greatly feared the vehicle. They would help to propagate the reputation that the Tiger had, even though just over 1,300 were ever made. But it's also been called over-engineered and too expensive, taking too long to make inside of the factories. There were several weaknesses on it. For example, on the Eastern Front, the interleaved road wheels caused chaos, often jamming, and then many wheels would have to be taken off to unstick the wheel that had become stuck. Also, they broke down a fair bit and had limited range, but in combat it was incredibly brutal. It could wipe out almost all of what the Allies had, and could take out T-34s, Shermans, Churchills and other tanks with its armament. It did meet a foe in the Sherman Firefly, an upgunned 17-pounder Sherman that caused chaos with Michael Wittmann's Tiger. But it's for the legacy of commanders such as Wittmann and other Panzer Aces that the Tiger was considered a feared and fantastic weapon of war. But nestled in the corner of the Imperial War Museum in Duxford sits a Tiger tank that is actually a T-34, a tank considered an enemy of the Tiger. It was used in the film Saving Private Ryan, and at the time there were no running Tigers available in the world. Despite being just a prop, it's a fascinating one, as it shows as if the Tiger has perched itself inside a shoemaker's business, waiting to ambush another vehicle. But looking closely at the tank, you can see that it is not a real Tiger, and there's a few giveaways that show it. The Zimmermann paste, for example, looks as if it's been poorly put on, and this would have helped defend the vehicle against sticky bombs. But you can clearly see that underneath the replica is sat on the chassis of a T-34-85, the very vehicle that would be an adversary of the Tiger. But what is rather interesting is that many people would walk by this exhibit and would ignore the fact it's a replica. But unlike many replicas, this is a vehicle that has a remarkable story and a place in film history. The fake Tiger tank is also made to portray Tiger 222 in its sand, green and brown camouflage colours. This very vehicle during the conflict specifically was under the command of Michael Wittmann at Villers-Bocage, close to when he was taken out by the Firefly. But what makes the fake Tiger compelling is that it was made at a time of complete necessity, as there were simply no running variations of the feared German vehicle in the world to use. Interestingly, Tiger 131, the only running Tiger in the world, has been used in films such as Fury, but there will come a time where this tank will not run anymore, as it would be too risky, as parts become too scarce during maintenance. But because of this, replicas like the Duxford Tiger help to capture what the Tiger looked and felt like, even if they aren't the greatest replicas. So there would have been a few things that were wrong with that Tiger. First of all, would have been the fact it would never have sounded like a Tiger tank. It would have sounded like a T-34. Also, it didn't have interleaving road wheels. It had the standard T-34 wheels that were there as well, and then the tracks on top of it. But yeah, very interesting that, the fake Tiger tank. Remember, To support our channel, please make sure to subscribe. Most of all, thank you so much for watching. Cheers.